I'm Craven Van Candy. Like and subscribe and drop us a line. Until I took my son from the other side, I'd never believed in God. But it occurred to me that my actions had betrayed him, and that everything that had happened to me since was God punishing me. So now I'm looking for a sign of forgiveness, a specific one, a white tulip. When the X-Files ended, television lost its sense of the unknown. Monsters of the week disappeared, government conspiracies faded, and the idea that science could be terrifying became unfashionable. Then came Lost, a show that reminded audiences how powerful long-form mystery could be. It gave us mythology, it gave us obsession, and it proved that viewers were willing to follow a story that didn't even explain itself right away. But what Lost didn't give us was fear. Well, that's where Fringe stepped in. Premiering in 2008, Fringe became the undisputed successor to the X-Files Monster of the Week Terra, while inheriting Lost serialized storytelling, emotional weight, and slow burn mythology. Each episode functioned as a standalone nightmare. Parasitic infections, human experimentation, spontaneous combustion, while quietly feeding into a much larger, much darker story about identity, fate, and the cost of playing God. And unlike many shows that followed it, Fringe didn't abandon its horror roots once the mythology kicked in. If anything, it doubled down. Tonight we're looking at the episodes where Fringe fully embraced that legacy. The ones that feel like lost X-Files cases. The ones haunted by Lost-style inevitability. And the ones that prove Fringe wasn't just inspired by those shows. It surpassed them. This is part 1, as I handpicked 24 must-watch, must-see episodes of one of the most underrated science fiction horror masterpieces in all of television history. For those of you who have already seen the show and are part of the Fringe fandom, please bear with me. For the uninitiated, I've already given you an idea of what the show is about. But like every great show, it's only as good as its characters and cast. Fringe has that in spades. Fringe has not just a solid cast, but one of the best cast of actors that a weekly television show could offer. At its core, Fringe is centered around a trio who are among the best. First, there's the POV point of view character, Olivia Dunham, played by the great Australian actress Anna Tarv. Olivia is a more than capable FBI agent whose career becomes tightly coiled in the department known as Fringe Division, who investigate fringe science and paranormal occurrences. She's pretty, of course, intelligent, hands-on, tough, yet very guarded, and at a certain glance one could accuse her of being cold, especially in the first half of the first season. But actress Anna Torv gives her vulnerability in a depth that draws us in. We really do want to get to know just who Olivia Dunham truly is. Olivia is assigned by her superior, Lieutenant Broyles, played by the late great Lance Reddick. He assigns her to the Bishop family, consisting of a father and son dynamic rarely seen in the medium of television. The son, Peter Bishop, played by Joshua Jackson, a far cry from his Mighty Duck days. Peter Bishop lives like a shadow, an independent agent, a vagabond, a mysterious figure, and we learn more and more as the show progresses. Peter becomes the resident heartthrob and love interest for Olivia later on, but in the beginning he's a loner without a home. Joshua Jackson does an excellent job allowing Peter to mature and become someone with a purpose and a firm staple of the Fringe Division team. And then, of course, there's Peter's father, Dr. Walter Bishop, played by the accomplished and acclaimed John Noble. He is, or was, considered one of the greatest minds of the 20th century, going into the 21st. But now, he is a mere shell of his former self, for better or for worse, depending on where you stand. After a nervous breakdown, he's now a broken, institutionalized genius who holds the key to a series of scientific anomalies and strange occurrences that may or may not be his responsibility. Now he sits in a padded cell, the only way Olivia Dunham can get through to him, and his much-needed cooperation is through his son, Peter Bishop. Olivia and Peter, with the help from Lieutenant Broyles, spring Walter from his rubber room and only hope they can extract the lost and buried information out of Walter's fractured psyche. Shapeshifters, the observers, the enigmatic pattern in the over there. Get ready. Here's the first 4 of 24 must-watch episodes from Fringe. And number 1, The Night of Desirable Objects, Season 2, Episode 2. The episode begins in a vast cornfield. A curious yet ill-fated construction worker begins investigating a bright, shiny object in that vast field of corn. And what do you know? He's mysteriously pulled into the ground, into a vast network of tunnels, a maze of grotesque remains strewn about. He disappears and vanishes without a trace. The Fringe Division team is called. Olivia, Peter, and Walter travel to Lansdale, Pennsylvania, to find out why people are being abducted and disappearing without a trace. The disappearance leads to a local recluse named Andre Hughes, who of course informs the team that his wife and infant son have been deceased many years. The FBI has to exhume Hughes' wife and baby's graves, and only to find the infant's casket is empty. We can only speculate that something has tunneled out or dug its way back in. Hughes, with his back to the wall, takes his life in custody before they can learn even more. Yes, this one delivers the chills as we learn it's a genetically altered child in utero so it could survive. Mixing human and scorpion DNA, the child grew into a creature that lived underground and fed on its victims. Pound for pound, Night of Desirable Objects is probably my favorite standalone Monster of the Week episode. It's tragic, it's human, and while many say this one is the one that reminds them the most of the X-Files, I honestly think that Fringe finds its own voice here, its own unique way of storytelling, and this is a really good place to start. Yes, this is the first must-watch episode. Don't miss this one. And number 2, What Lies Below, Season 2, Episode 13. Viral contagion horror with character drama and classic Fringe science. The outbreak begins as a man from the Netherlands enters a Boston office building, attending a rather clandestine business meeting. He suddenly falls to the ground. Moments later, the veins in his head swell red. He convulses, and from his nose and mouth, his breath is tainted with a red spore-like substance that goes airborne throughout the building. Everyone panics, and the Fringe Division, Olivia, Peter, and Walter, arrive on the scene to investigate. Needless to say, everyone is on high alert as Olivia and Peter enter the building with the intention of investigating the biological threat, only to witness more employees falling to the floor, convulsing, bleeding from their eyes, and releasing the red spore-like contagion. This leaves Dr. Walter Bishop no choice but to quarantine the whole building. The only problem, Olivia and Peter are trapped inside. This creates a whole new level of tension, and no one gets out unscathed as Peter becomes infected. We learn that the virus corrupts the human personality, and Peter is not immune to this. He becomes desperate, cunning, even deceptively tricking the screening process. He's almost released with the uninfected employees. Instead, his symptoms become more and more visible. He becomes unhinged, volatile, his eyes bloodshot. This ramps up the suspense as his father, Walter Bishop, races to find a cure before the bureaucrats eradicate the infected subjects in the building. Needless to say, Fringe delivers on a classic building under siege narrative, providing us with a grit-your-teeth, white-knuckle, sweat-it-out to the very end piece of television. It's an essential episode, utilizing its characters, its claustrophobic setting, and that unknown threat, a strange, possibly alien contagion. At number 3, White Tulip, Season 2, Episode 18. This episode opens not with the Fringe team, but instead we see a man materialize inside a train, instantly draining every single cell of energy and power. But that's not the only thing the mystery man's materialization steals. No. Every passenger on the train, the hearts stop beating in unison. It's a haunting scene as we see the passengers' lives stopped, suspended, with their expressions frozen in immediate death. The only witness to this disturbing event is a teenage panhandler who sees this mysterious man casually step off the train. He says nothing to him. The man is quiet, not a word, devoid of all emotion. The teenager is left stunned and terrified. The man, you may ask? His name is Alistair Peck, played by the great Peter Weller with pitch-perfect precision. We soon learn that Alistair is jumping backward through time. Each jump not only causing dangerous energy spikes that drain power and all life within his vicinity. Each time jump is also damaging his body, leaving his skin blistered and burned, and his organs failing. The mesh of skin and machine lean into Cronenberg-like body horror. The motive? Peck is trying to jump back in time to prevent his beloved fiancée Arlette from being killed in a horrific car accident that occurred a year earlier. But every jump is an act of desperation and a dangerous refusal to accept grief. The Fringe division is called upon to investigate the train and what's causing the temporal disturbances. Walter recognizes Peck's research immediately, because a lot of it's based on Walter's own work and breakthroughs. It's a terrifying revelation, and Walter pleads to the FBI/police powers that be before they can apprehend Peck. He must confront him alone. What follows is a failed intervention, but it's some of the best acting in the series, as Walter Bishop, played by the great John Noble, begs Alistair Peck, Peter Weller of course, to stop the jumps at once. Not only is this peak Fringe, it's peak television. This episode exemplifies everything that's great about the show. The selfish act of men playing God, tearing holes in reality for the sake of love. And the final act, the last 10 minutes of this, it's cruel, yet profound, and very true. You can't outrun loss. In God's universe, it does not allow us to erase fate. We only hope to be lucky enough to be part of its rearrangement, if anything else. In the final scenes, it made my heart drop to the pit of my stomach. In that very last moment when Walter receives the letter with the drawing of the white tulip. If that doesn't serve something in your soul or cause a few tears to well in your eyes, you might need to go get checked out to see if you're still human with a heart that functions properly. Now, many say this is hands down Fringe's greatest episode and finest moment. It's hard to say because there's so many great ones, but it's definitely the most impactful and the most unforgettable. At number 4, Inner Child, Season 1, Episode 15. This is a personal favorite of mine, one that seems no one likes to add to any kind of ranking or tier list. That's a shame because I personally think it's one of the best episodes of the first season. Overlooked, underrated for whatever reason. I think it's a crucial piece of Fringe mythology, and it gives Olivia Dunham's character an extra added dimension as we see the compassion of her motherly and nurturing instinct that becomes so important in the final seasons. The episode begins with a hard hat working crew who are part of a demolition team. Right before they demolish a building, they make a shocking discovery. An underground chamber that has been sealed off for nearly 50 years has been exposed. And the hard hat crew member, he nearly leaps from his skin as he finds a young, hairless, pale, feral boy living in this forgotten underground nook of the city. For Fringe Division, this takes precedence because, like all of us, we want to know, how did such a child survive? Where did the child come from? Who are his parents? Walter and his ever faithful assistant Astrid run tests on the boy, and Peter observes. As the boy refuses to speak or react with anyone, he withdraws inside his own little shell. Well, that is until he meets Olivia. Suddenly, the first hint of a gleam sparkles in his eye. Meanwhile, the other side of Olivia Dunham's professional life rears its head as the FBI has been alerted that an old nemesis, a serial killer known only as the Artist, begins his reign of terror once again. This elusive killer stages his murders as elaborate yet macabre works of art, each a reflection of the victim's trauma and regret. The killer observes his unknowing victims from afar. We first see this as the unassuming monster in a regular human skin makes small conversation with a very alternative goth-looking girl, or better yet, woman. Dyed orange hair, tattoos, piercing, the whole package. The killer sees someone who is broken, and the only way he can fix her, well, we see her get abducted and pulled into the back of the killer's van in one of the most terrifying scenes in the history of the series. The next time we see her, she's in the middle of a park, posed, standing embalmed, lifeless. Her hair exquisitely long, beautiful brunette. Her pale face dabbed with rouge. Her wardrobe, well, she's wearing a 1950s Susie Homemaker-style dress as if she were ready to enter a church building on a Sunday morning. It's creepy and very effective. The brilliance of this episode is the way Olivia is pulled in two directions. The feral boy's fixation on her becomes more intense, but the weight of the artist in his killing spree, as Olivia knows, the so-called artist will not stop until he's caught. We learn that the boy is an empath. He's sensing the weight of Olivia's responsibility. He begins seeing glimpses of faces and places that may be tied to the killer. He scribbles words on pieces of paper for only Olivia to see. Each crumpled piece of scrap paper, every new scribbled word, brings Olivia and the Fringe team closer and closer to finding this monster, whose elusiveness has haunted them for years. Yes, Anna Torv really shines here as she brings a whole nother layer of Olivia's personality front and center. Compassion, an authentic care and connection to this mysterious feral child. It's touching and emotional. But still we ask the question, who is this child? And why do special elite forces who have strong global influence want to take him from the Fringe team? Was he born here? Was he born with these telepathic powers? Or was he exposed to something that's caused this? Was he part of a secret government project, an experiment, or maybe even a government cover-up? But don't worry, we get our answer at the very end. As a certain reoccurring character waves at the young feral child, acknowledging him as one of his own, as he's being transferred to another facility. When you see it, you'll probably have to take the palm out of your face, because it's really that obvious. But see this episode for yourself. It's awesome. Trust me, it's classic. Fringe never asked you to believe in monsters. It asked you to believe in people. In its early years, Fringe took the investigative paranoia, infused it with long-term mystery and emotional weight, then pushed both into a darker territory, where science didn't just explain the horror, it caused it. These episodes weren't about shock for shock's sake. No, they were about consequences, about experiments that didn't stay buried, about how curiosity, love, fear can fracture reality itself. But this is only the beginning. As Fringe goes on, the cases get stranger, the moral lines blur even further, and that question stops being, what is happening, and becomes, what would you be willing to destroy to save the people you love? If you enjoyed this first episode, there's much more to come. More cases, more universes, and far more unsettling truths. Yes, this is the first of a 6-part series. So if you want to continue exploring the darker side of Fringe, make sure you subscribe. And I'll see you in the next episode. Because in the world of Fringe, the truth is never just on the surface. Thank you for joining me. I'm Craven Van Candy. And wherever you may be, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, good riddance.